My name is Gil Robertson, and
Yes.
I'm the president of the African American Film Critics Association, which represents the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics. And today, members of our family are excitedly waiting to talk with you about your amazing show on Netflix
Mm-hmm.
and the amazing year that you've had from Sundance on, to the release of this film.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to jump right into it, starting with Aisha in Philadelphia, Aisha Muhammad, Carolyn Hines in Toronto, Chris,
Awesome.
Chris Westbrooks, DJ Chris Styles in Cleveland, Al
Hey.
McGee in South Florida, the incredible Lady KB in Houston, Texas,
Hey.
Katia Woods in Philadelphia,
Hi.
Janita Davis in Michigan City, Indiana,
Hey, Janita.
Ray Cornelius in Atlanta, Brandon Collins in Queens, New York,
Al.
Adrian Gomez Weston in Los Angeles, and Rhonda Rasha Penrice in Atlanta. I am going to sign off, and I'll see you guys on the other side.
Yes. Look at all that melanin. All right. I love it.
Hey, good morning to you. First of all, I say thank you. A really, really dope film. It was really dope.
Thank you so much.
I just want to know the vibe on that set. You had Oswald Benjamin. You had all the battle rappers on there. I seen Sada X pull up on there. Styles P. I was like, yo, this is a real hip hop flick. It wasn't just like, how was that vibe on that set with all that boom bap and hip hop and that essence of hip hop?
Yeah, I was like, what did they say? A pig in slop. I mean, I was in heaven because these are, the forefathers and foremothers of the culture, especially where New York is concerned. Like, they're pretty much like all my favorite rappers stepped up to participate. And so, there were times where I had to really pinch myself and get clear. Like, the director is over here kind of losing her shit because Sada X, one of my favorite New York rappers, is in my movie. You know what I mean? So I really had to play it cool because I wanted them to take me seriously as a director. But I'm a fan. I'm a participant, but I'm also a fan of the culture. And so it meant a lot that these luminaries would show up for the movie.
Thank you. And I appreciate the scene with the battle rappers, with Babs and them guys in there. Yo, that was really, really dope. Thank you. Appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Thank you. Means a lot.
Hey, Radha, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, Aisha. I appreciate it. Thank you.
The direction was incredible.
Oh,
what was the significance of the black and white? And I noticed that in the memories you had color, and towards the end, there was color and your dress illuminated. And also there was a moment where you and Dee had just finished being intimate and we're sitting on the edge of the bed, and the blocking, that was just incredible. The angle from the camera.
Thank you.
And the silhouettes and the natural light coming through, it blew my mind.
Oh, wow. That means a lot to me.
Great, I'm so glad. What was the intent, of the black and white, and also these angles, like you sitting in the corner with the light on and all of that? It was just incredible. What do these moments signify to you?
Yeah, well, you know what? My mom was an artist, but she was also a cinephile. So I was raised on black and white film. It's nothing for me to see films, whether it's The Apartment or Manhattan or She's Gotta Have It. Mm-hmm. To see films in black and white was not foreign to me. And to see classic New York films in black and white wasn't foreign. What was foreign was seeing myself in them, and centering them. So in a way, I'm kind of retrofitting the film into an era when black and white film, New York films, was kind of what people did. But also, like, I'm very deliberate about Black people looking really sumptuous on black and white, and the culture being depicted in a way where it's not the typical oversaturated, oversexualized lens on hip hop. I wanted to bring it down to like a very cool level of sophistication and vulnerability. I feel like a lot of times in the culture, we can kind of hide our humanity behind things, like whether it's like shaking butt or you know, like fast moving images, fast talking characters, or what have you. And so I just felt like the black and white, not only is it aesthetically pleasing, but like it just forces you to see the character in front of you. So that was a very deliberate choice on my part.
Incredible. It was incredible direction. Bravo.
Thank you.
Really good job. Thank you.
Hi, Radha. Definitely happy birthday. And I have to
Thank
give you
you.
kudos for putting one of my favorite people, TJ Adams, in the movie. He's
Oh.
Philly 215, North Philly all day. And so now he's a really good kid. I have to ask you, how did you get Styles P to be in the movie? And I love Sadat X and Styles P both. One of my favorite moments is the one between you all when you're on the bus in the film, because it's so New York and it's so real life. And he's a natural. He definitely should do more acting.
Oh, and let me tell you something about Mr. Styles P. Not only is he a natural, he's a method actor. He did not break character. He wanted you to call him Mr. Bus Driver the whole time. You call him Styles, he's like, I don't know who you're talking about. I drive a city bus, you know. And I don't know if you noticed, but we changed the bus number to 914 in the front, just as a salute to him, where he comes from in New York. Yeah, you know, it's a combination of things. Like, first of all, I worked with Guy Route as my music supervisor, and he's had relationships over the years with many of these MCs. But I think, you know, it didn't hurt that Lena Waite was my producer. And I think that gave people, you know, okay, well, she's investing in something. Let me see what this is. And he just was so game, you know, like I just wanted the rappers to be a part of the fabric of the storytelling, you know, where some people are rappers and some people are not. They're New Yorkers. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all are, right? Everyone in the film. And so, yeah, like when I heard we had secured him and Young M.A. and Sadat, you know, for me, for a segment of the audience, they may not know who those people are, but for those who do, when they see them, I want it to feel like a hug, you know, like, just a moment to kind of celebrate and honor the culture. So I was very fortunate that those people showed up when they did.
It's a beautiful film. It's a beautiful love letter to hip hop.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. It means a lot coming from you guys, because, you know, I just feel like it's just important to me that we're part of this conversation around the film, because you know, when people come up to me, two things that have been said to me that feel like just the biggest compliment. First, when people say the movie is Black AF, I'm like, thank you. And then when New Yorkers come up to me and say, oh my God, that's my hometown, that's a huge compliment. But the fact that I get to have this exchange with you guys means a lot to me, so.
Hi, Radha. This is Caroline Hayes. I'm in Toronto representing, so here's what happened. And briefly at Sundance, after the screening of your film, we walked to the theater because we were both lost. And one of the things that always sticks out to me for your film is
I remember you.
Oh, yeah.
We were walking outside trying to find a theater together. I remember you, sis.
Yeah,
Good to see
we were
you
both
again.
lost.
Yeah, I was so lost.
There's two significant moments that really stick up for me with the film, and this is the first one is in Dee's apartment where she gets the persona of Rodimus Prime. And there's this thing you do where you break down your body, which is kind of like, you know, like Optimus Prime and the Autobots, and they do this one break down. You do that, and I love that. And I want to ask about the inspiration for that, because the way I interpret it is this is where you're basically shedding all of like your insecurities and everything that she's experiencing. And then that, because it happens again at the end of the film where she basically just tells off everyone in the audience. And I wanted to ask about the inspiration for those two moments.
Well, I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, and I watched the Transformers like everybody else after school. And I'm gonna be honest with you. So my name has been Rodimus Prime. My hip hop name has been, my moniker has been Rodimus Prime, among other things. I've had like 20 of them, but it's been Rodimus Prime for a while. And I honestly forgot that there was a character named Rodimus Prime. His name is Rodimus Prime, because he's a hot rod when he transforms from robot to car. So I had forgotten about that. but I realized that it was in the back of my mind when it came to, you know, it's this rites of passage that all rappers do, is they find their hip hop name. And the reason I think they do that at times, I mean, aside from the J. Cole's and the Kendrick Lamar's, is to assume another identity. And I think that that was necessary for my character. If you notice that every once in a while it's Rodimus Prime who looks dead into camera, because she's like in there and she's trying to get out and she's looking for someone, like, do you see me? She's looking to the audience like, I'm here. So that transformation is that. I think, Carolyn, when you say this thing of shedding, that's exactly what she's doing, is like putting away the kind of bumbling, kind of goofy person to make way for Rodimus Prime to come out. And it's been the same process for me, you know, like when I perform as Rodimus Prime, all my issues about having an extra amount of weight or being of a certain age, they're out the window, because she don't give a damn. She really doesn't care. If you're nice looking, you could be 20 years younger. She don't give a shit. She don't care. You know what I mean? And so I feel like so many of us have to call on another part of ourselves to get through certain things. And so Rodimus Prime for me represents like a fearless part of me that doesn't apologize and has the strength to kind of face the loss of my mom where I didn't, you know? So that's exactly what it was. It was, you know, just like the character kind of calling on an old part of herself, I'm kind of calling on some of my heroes of my childhood, which is Optimus Prime and Rodimus Prime, you know, to kind of get through the adversity of the moment.
Thank you so much. I consider this film as a film for Black women by a Black woman. So like for me, it's extremely Black.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, it's KB here. How are you?
Hi, KB. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So I had the pleasure of seeing this film at Sundance, and you put your heart and soul into this film, and it really shows. I love every moment of it.
Oh,
so
thank
tell
you.
me about kind of what MC, what director, and what writer really inspired you in working on this project.
Those are great questions. So there's a moment where I'm coming out of the train station and I finally arrived in Brownsville. It's a whole new world. Wow. And Latifah, Wrath of My Madness, is playing in the background. She's had such an influence on me, really. I remember being like maybe 12 or 13. And there's a show we used to watch in New York called Video Music Box, which Ralph McDaniels was the host of and still is. It's like 40 years now. And we were cleaning and I was in another part of the house and my mother's like, Radha, come here. You're on TV. And I'm like, what is she talking about? And it was Latifah. Latifah's Had It Up to Here was the video. And I remember watching it and being like, oh my God, like I've never seen anyone who looked and felt like me on screen, and kind of like rhyming unapologetically, like brash and yet still all woman. You know, there was nothing about her that felt compromised. She felt like one of the first like real MCs real people MCs I had encountered. So she is a huge inspiration in terms of, I love all of hip hop. I have many favorites. Rhapsody is another, but she's the person who planted the seed in me when I was very young. You said which director? Robert Townsend. I had the pleasure of having a conversation with him about a week ago for Urban World. And the reason I say Robert Townsend is because, you know, Spike was a huge influence, of course, you know, like he's an influence for any Black filmmaker because he was one of the first of his time. But I feel like Hollywood Shuffle and 40-Year Version talk to each other. You know, these are films about Black creatives who have to engage and encounter white gatekeepers. And this question of like, who gets to tell a Black story and is it authentic? And so he really, still to this day, his films like invigorate me. But also, you know, using comedy to talk about some very unfunny things around race and gender and, you know, lack of inclusion. So Robert Townsend. And then you said writer?
Yes.
Well, there's a writer that I don't think people would think I'd be inspired by, but it's Toni Morrison because, well, one, she also started her career later in life, you know, but her her writing is so dense. It's like a meal that you have to like take a few bites and just kind of push back from the table, because it's just so rich. And her works are books. There's one book in particular called Beloved that I've read maybe 30 times since I first picked it up at 13 years old. And I'm hoping that, like her, my work is something people return to, you know, like if they're in a mood or they want to escape or they want some good music or they want to see a particular kind of journey. I hope that I create the kind of work that is timeless and classic like her.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, this film is already timeless and classic.
Oh, that means a lot.
We're well on the way.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Jonita Davis. And I want to know, you wrote this, you directed, and when you got to the point where you were like looking for a lead, did you ever have a doubt in your mind that it would be, you know, someone else? Or, you know, how did you come to that conclusion that it was going to be, you know, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to cast it. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
You know, on top of everything else.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Jonita, right? Okay. Jonita, I'm a fan of films where the person is kind of playing a version of themselves. Christopher Guest, you know, I'm a fan of his films because they're like mockumentaries. So what we're looking at are supposed to be real people. But like Lena Dunham, Larry David, Spike has done it in some way or another, but where, you know, the lines are blurred between what's real and what's not. And I knew to do that in the truest way, I had to play a version of myself. It seems a little egomaniacal, but I really am trying to add something to that genre of filmmaking, where somebody's playing a version of themselves. But also being myself gives me a chance to celebrate my parents. You know, like I think to some people, they may be considered obscure, they have died in obscurity, or they're unknown. And I feel like the film changes that, you know, like, you know, maybe I don't know how I feel about people owning my mother's art, but I do want more people to know that she was an artist. And my father's music is out there. He's played with some of the greatest, from Sun Ra to Walter Davis to Laji Kamara, you name it. You know, maybe there's an opportunity for people to revisit his music, you know? So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think putting yourself in the movie was like the best thing. I mean, then, like KB said, it's already timeless. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Hey, good morning, Radha. This is Al McGee here with YETicket.com, and happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Also, you know, it's my mom's birthday too. We have the same birthday, so.
Wow.
Happy birthday, Mom.
My daughter had the same birthday as her great grandmother.
Oh, wow. What a gift. That's
I know,
amazing.
right? She really loved her. Well, anyway, I really enjoyed this film. For one, I wrote a play before myself, but the thing is, sellout. That term. Is that only an African American term? Because I never heard any white person say, "I don't want to sell out." They usually say, "Well, I don't want to give up this part of me," and things like that. The term sellout, is that an African American? And then why did you use that in this film? Because I thought this film was very good with the homeless guy and things like that. It was very, very good and funny, but it was well written. And the actors you had in there were very, very
I'm
real.
so proud of the cast. Some of the folks, and I'm going to get to that question about selling out in a second, but some of the folks were actors I've met through theater or seen in film maybe a year or two before I even knew I had a production. And in my mind, I'm just kind of just like the music, just kind of collecting things so that when the time comes, I can call on these actors. I'm very, very proud of them. But sellout, I think it is very synonymous with like African-American culture. And it used to pertain to things around race and white gatekeepers, whether it's in our industry or it's at a plant, or, you know, this idea of compromising yourself to either advance yourself or appease the person in power. And I don't know, I just thought it was important to revisit that idea because, even if somebody calls it something else, we all can relate to, you know, this idea of like not being your true self in order to get ahead. And I think for the protagonist, I think for my character, it's this thing that she's not sure she can live with it, you know, that, and maybe that's why Rodimus Prime emerges at the end, is because there's just a part of her who always wanted to have some success and maybe surpass her parents, but at what cost, you know? And maybe at the end, she feels like she's paid too high a price to do that and then live comfortably with herself. But yeah, that's just like, you know, we all know what that means to sell out, you know, and it's something that I think we're all avoiding at some point, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for your answer, and thank you for taking time with us in AAFCA. And I really enjoyed the film.
Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate it.
Happy birthday, Radha. This is Ray Cornelius out of Atlanta, Upfront Inside Atlanta's entertainment industry. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you, Ray, and nice talking with you.
Yeah, so, you know, I got to say, watching this movie, I felt like I was having a Killing Me Softly moment, because I was like, oh my God, that's me. Like this is real life. At 40-something, trying to, you know, become something else. In the film, which is kind of semi autobiographical, correct?
Yes.
You having to walk away from a passion project and walk into something new is very, very hard. And I just wanted to know, was there ever a project that you had to walk away from and walk into something new? And what was the outcome? Because I hate that we kind of didn't really get to see what happened. And I feel like there's a part 2 to this, but what happened in real life when you walked away from that passion project?
You know, I feel like anytime a playwright sits down to write a play that is important to them, it is a passion project. And the tough thing I've had to deal with was not finding, you know, the support that could sustain a career in theater, meaning that I had a play called Seed that had a bit of success, and the expectation was that it would then, you know, be put up on Broadway or propel me into this whole new experience as a playwright. And it didn't quite happen for me. And a lot of the plays that I wrote became like my writing samples for television work. And that was painful, because it means that even though I crafted this world for the stage, it's now just an example being used to show that I can write for someone else's show. So I feel like there've been these little markers in my career where things just did not turn out the way I wanted to. But, you know, in this moment, it gives me a story to tell. You know what I mean? Like, the reason 40-year-old version is a film is because it was a web series. And the reason it was a web series is because I had gotten fired off of a film, my first screenwriting job, and I was devastated. And the web series was my way of saying, like, you know what? I need to do something that I can't get fired from. So the idea was to, you know, DIY, you know, create a web series in the spirit of creators like Issa Rae, where I could cultivate my own audience and not be dependent on someone else. So I feel like this idea of the disappointment of, you know, this dream project going up, it started shifting, because I was like, oh, I can do this, but in my own way. I don't have to wait for a gatekeeper to greenlight my script. I can, like these other great Black creative content makers, I can just create something myself. And then to just answer the question about the ending of the film, you know, like, I tell people it's not 8 Mile, it's more like 2 Mile, because she doesn't really go that far. Like, she's not trying to be a hip hop star. So yes, she does rhyme in the film, but for me, hip hop in the movie is more like a meditation. You know, like, it shows up in many different ways, from the trap music that's playing outside of her window to the cipher in the basement of Arlene's Grocery, to the battle rap, to her at the mic. You know, like, hip hop is a force that turns into whatever she needs in the moment. So it's not patty cakes, it's not 8 Mile, it's more like 2 Mile. She's not going that far. She's kind of staying in the same 4 or 5 block radius, but more about it helping to transform her her frustrations as it did for me in real life, because you know, I was about to shoot the web series. My mom had passed away and I was devastated. And while I didn't want to go and shoot the web series, I found myself performing the music I had created for the web series out in the world. And it was my catharsis. It was how I got through grieving my mom, was by kind of taking on Rodimus Prime and performing live. And so if there's a part 2, it'll probably be revisiting my live show, because I do, you know, for me, I'm not a big fan of necessarily selling my music, but I want to invite people into the performance of it. So I'm hoping that there's going to be like a real live show where I can invite people into that cabaret, you know, and perform those songs. Thank you, Ray.
Brandon Collison, Media and Popcorn Podcast. It's a pleasure to meet you, and happy
Same
birthday.
here. Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, I just want to say personally, because of when this was given access to some of our critics last week, it came at the right time, given everything that happened last week, like the world and everything. I really appreciated this film.
Oh, thank you.
I also love the humor. I'm a huge fan of dark comedy, and you use
okay.
Specifically when you actually choked Josh Whitman. I thought it was gonna be one of those fake outs where it's like, that didn't really happen. Then you're like, oh, I actually choked this person out.
Can I say something about that real quick? One time I was in a writing group and it was all Black women. And when they read that on the screen, they were like, sis, what if it was a fake out? We come back and it didn't really happen. And I know that these were my sisters kind of looking out for me. And I was like, then it's not going to have the same impact. You know what I mean? So thank you for appreciating that. I have actually not choked a white theater producer yet, but it does become like a catalyst, for the character, you know what I mean? After that, there's nowhere else to go but up. So yeah.
Absolutely. And you just talked about a little bit about the writing, because I was curious, because you referenced Judd Apatow, your intro, and Larry David. I'm wondering how much of the comedy was actually in your script, and how much was improvised with the talent that you had?
I'd say 90% in the script. And I have to be honest with you, Brandon, I did not set out to make a comedy. When I knew it was a comedy, anybody heard of Franklin Leonard at the Blacklist? Okay, so he's like my bro in the business. And I'm very, very private about my process of writing, unless I get to a draft and I need to kind of hear it aloud with some actors. For the most part, I keep things very close, and I only share it with 3 people that I've shared it with for 15 years. And so when I shared it with Franklin, he's the first person outside of my little small circle of eyes and ears that I shared the script with. And he said he's on a plane, and he said he was laughing so loud that people were like, come on, man, ain't nothing that funny, you know, but that it really was a laugh out loud. He had a laugh out loud response to the script. And that's when I was like, wait, so you're saying it's a comedy? He's like, yeah, it's a comedy, you know? I guess I'm the type of person who is always trying to write from a place that's authentic. I never want to try to be funny. I think that's why, I did comedy for a number of years in New York. And it was a struggle for me, because that was the expectation, is you're going to get on stage and make people laugh. And I found that when I did things like hosting or make music with a comedic lens, that people actually heard me in a different way. You know, if I was at 40 something years old trying to rap about, you know, I don't know, you know, Trump and his taxes, I just don't know that people would hear me if it wasn't through a lens of comedy. So I do understand the power of comedy in one, what's the word I'm looking for? Disarming people, and then kind of pulling them into something. What I say about the film is it does use comedy to pull people into some very unfunny things, whether it's sexism, racism, ageism. But I really was not sitting down and saying, oh, this is going to be funny. It was once I started sharing it with people outside of my small circle that they were like, this is funny. And then sometimes we get on set, the knee cracking. It happened in the first scene with the Black theater director, where I disturbed his prayer to the ancestors. And then by the time we got to the end, I was like, oh, you know what? I want to add something here. I added actually the whole scene where the kids go, hail, hail. I added that. And then I was like, we need a button. It'll be the knee crack. So sometimes it was about revisiting something that was already there, but we didn't fray too far from the script. Like a lot of what we said was written in the script.
That was fantastic. Great job.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Hello, Radha. Thank you for coming today. I really loved your movie. I just love how it like really authentically portrays New York and how subtle it is. And I just kind of wanted, I know you mentioned about your writing process, and I hope this question is okay to ask, like, how did you go about, I know you have a lot of experience writing for the stage, so how did that inform your writing for this film? Did you keep any of those things in mind? And like, because there's some things that are so subtle and like small you won't be able to see on a stage, and like how did you do that?
Yeah, well, thanks, Adriana, for asking that question. It has been an interesting journey in transitioning from being a playwright and working in film. You know, on stage, it's this box, and you get a lot of the plot and the nuance and the information out of somebody's mouth. And so now I have to kind of transform it to this format where it's visual, you know, so that was interesting. But I felt like where I did remain a playwright is in certain scenes where, you know, there's a particular kind of relationship, like the relationship between Radha and Archie, where there's like that oneer at the bench, you know, and the camera does not move. It's just these two actors. We don't cut away. That to me was my playwriting muscle. And but what playwriting I think did for me is, I think because it's not an easy path to one, be a playwright and then get your work produced, it makes writing such a serious job. You know, like I really am, and I get this from being a playwright, I'm all about earning what happens in a scene. I don't want things to just happen. I want them to come from like this well, so to speak, of things that maybe the audience doesn't know about or see, but is somehow teased in a scene and then pays off later. So it definitely, you know, as a playwright, I definitely was kind of obsessed with why a character does what they do, and how do I get this person to show a certain emotion rather than have it come out their mouth. Like, I don't think you ever hear Radha say, you know, I'm really sad that my mom died. But I wanted you to feel it in different moments, whether it's with, you know, someone asked about the moment of intimacy between Radha and Dee. Well, I feel like the most intimate is actually not them having sex. It's the next morning when they're rhyming about their mothers, you know, and, you know, just feeling like, how do I get this person? How does the audience get that this person is in pain without ever saying it? And that to me was me writing the history of the character like a playwright, but letting go of dialogue that a playwright might normally use. So it was me calling on that, but then also kind of letting go of that, if it makes sense, so that whatever is there is serving the purpose of the narrative in the film.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Radha, happy birthday to you and
Hi, thank you so much.
How did you and Lena connect? And also, what, if anything, did working on She's Gotta Have It, you know, give you working on 40-Year-Old Version?
Lena and I have actually known each other for years. I first went out to LA to work on a show called The Get Down for Netflix. I mean, Netflix stays in my life, okay? Blessings. But I went to work, I was in the writing room in 2014, and you know, this is a very Black thing where we find each other. And, you know, there was a gathering of Black women TV writers that Janika and Jashika James, they were my co-writers on Empire, I believe. They connected me with this group. And Lena was a part of it. And so we were kind of creating fellowship and community there, just a place where we could kind of come together, sip wine, and complain without getting in trouble, you know. And she and I hit it off instantly because, like, I'm from New York, she's from Chicago. We both are like trying to remain ourselves in a town that's like maybe wants us to be skinnier, more attractive, lighter, with blonde hair, you know what I mean? Like, so over the years we would tease each other about who would go Hollywood first, you know. She'd be like, okay, I see you over there with your bohemian diet, whatever. And I'd be like, nah, but I see you over there with your blonde weave though. What's up with that blonde weave? You know, so we would tease each other about who would go Hollywood first. And then you know, when I moved back to New York, we would just stay in touch and we would meet up at Sundance to hang out. And one year we were there and she was asking me about my film. And, you know, I was in the process of finding, I had producers at the time and we were in the process of finding financing. And she's like, okay, well, if you need help with anything, let me know. I didn't reach out to her. And I think it's because I'm always nervous about working with friends. Cause you know, like when you hang with friends, you hang with friends. When you switch into that work mode, they may not like that person. So I'm always nervous about introducing that part of myself to my friends. The next year we came back to Sundance. We were sitting in the audience watching a film that we both had opinions about. And that's when she looked over at me and she was like, yo, your film needs to happen now. What's up? You gonna let me help you or what? And all I had to do was say yes to my friend. And so, you know, it's been interesting working with her or a gift working with her, because one of the best things she did two great things. Is one, she trusted me with my vision. You know, I'm a first-time filmmaker, never did it before, never acted in a film before. Well, I have, but we ain't gonna talk about that. First-time filmmaker, she trusted me with my vision, and then she not only helped to get the money, she got out of my way. And that, I feel, is a great gift, especially to an artist my age who's been making art for over 25 years. Like, I know what I want to say. All I need is for the person to come in, drop off the dough, and then go out the dough. You know what I mean? Like, just, I've been waiting for this for a long time. And there's something about her that knew that about me. So it's been a blessing, you know, and it doesn't hurt that she's very decorated, because it pulls an audience in that maybe doesn't think that they're into a black and white film with a woman my age at the center. You know what I mean? So it's been a real blessing.
Well, we've been waiting for you. Congratulations.
Oh, that's so sweet, Rhonda. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Radha, thank you so much. Again, this film is a winner, and we're glad to champion it and celebrate it, and celebrate you. And we're certainly looking forward to seeing what you have next coming for us.
I do too. I just want to say thank you so much for having this conversation with me, engaging with the film and saying such positive things. It really means a lot to me that folks who look like you and look like me are having this exchange and are lifting up, you know, a piece of film. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'll see y'all out there when the world opens up again. I can't wait to meet some of you guys.
Absolutely, always. So on behalf of the world's largest group of Black film critics, we thank you. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of AAFCA Roundtables. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.